I'm Tyler Stutzman. This is the 6th episode of Geeks and Suits. Sorry, Chase. I think I just stole your thunder.
You just stole my thing, man.
I'm sorry.
I'm Chase Gerber. I'm your co-host, and as Tyler already said, this is episode 6 of Geeks and Suits.
Whoops.
I'm Ben Gerber, and this episode is simply titled, Ed is Amazing.
I thought it was
amazing.
Truly amazing.
I thought it was Gren is amazing.
Ed, Gren, everyone's amazing.
Everyone's
The wall
amazing.
is- except for Pip, apparently.
Yeah,
Pip.
Pip sucks. Anyways.
okay.
Rest in peace, though.
So,
Anyway.
this week, since we're doing back-to-back,
This week
and
on Geeks.
this
Oh,
week-
also, we dressed
Yeah,
up.
we suits.
We
We
shirt
finally,
and ties.
it took
We are
6
the
episodes,
and
and we
two of
finally,
And two of us
dressed up.
went
we
with
are
the theme
fully
of
dressed
black.
up, yes.
Yes.
I chose to go.
We
We
are
should've-
watchers
I had a
on the
dream
wall.
of
should've-
spring today.
Actually,
Oh,
okay.
shut up.
I don't know if it'd be in your fridge, but we should have almost gotten it beforehand. Take the black stout. And
Oh!
plopped it right there.
How
okay,
dare you?
He'll be
okay,
back.
while he's gone.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know.
We should. Well, you can't drink, but I wanted to drink it so badly last
Well,
night
hey, get
because
it
it was
out.
the take the black stout for the Battle of the Wall.
Yeah, for the Battle of the Wall.
Oh well.
Anyway, for those who don't know, last night, this week's episode of Game of Thrones, the Battle of the Wall,
A singular
finally
focus.
aired.
Second one.
We finally got a good chunk of Jon Snow.
Yeah, it seemed
Just Jon Snow.
like between him and Ygritte and kind of Sam. I feel like Sam's almost been in the season more so than Jon Snow up to this point.
How did we not?
Drink it last night? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
How
actually,
in the world?
I actually
wrong with you guys?
mentioned that to
Take the
Lisa
black.
today. I
Take the
can't.
black
I don't know
Night's
how.
Watch.
I don't know how we did not drink that.
Anyways, as we were saying,
almost
we
a little
finally
gross.
got a nice healthy dose of Jon Snow.
Yes.
The first time since like season 2.
Yeah.
You know,
like a good.
You mean a meaty story?
Yeah, like last season he was
just
in
doing.
it,
He was just
La-
doing.
But
things.
you know,
the
especially
problem
since
with-
they divided up his story, they had to spread it out.
The
So
problem
much.
with last year was that it was almost like a romantic comedy
Yeah.
situation.
he was almost on a honeymoon.
that
alone.
thing
Yeah.
you do with your tongue.
Yes. We should have never left that.
But no, he really had a side story. He wasn't involved with anyone in the Night's Watch.
No.
It was just him and Ygritte following around a bunch of other wildlings.
Yeah.
And
really,
it was a find yourself season.
Yeah, it was so much
Yeah.
more. I felt like last year, with not that much, they almost fleshed out more of what was in the books.
Yeah, they did.
Then
they
well,
had
I guess
to.
then what was in the books.
Because
Yeah,
they had a
should've-
very distinct stopping point they wanted
Yes.
to get to. With
Yeah.
him
But
leaving.
but the nice thing about it was it was able to grow the character of Ygritte even more.
True.
Because
Like you
as we-
connect with her a little
as we
more.
evidenced last night, like it was, and with a few of the reactions too, like you could tell that the people we were watching it with were like genuinely like bummed that like
Yeah.
Ygritte died,
Yeah.
but it had to happen
Yeah.
because
Right.
it was either her or Jon Snow, and you
That's-
knew that was going to happen.
when they froze, Ygritte had the arrow on Jon, and they were just both just still. And Jon gives that smile.
Yeah,
I
like-
thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was almost, you know what? If I die, at least I saw her one more time.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like a deep breath.
And it was
before
at
they-
her hand.
Before they realized one of us is gonna die.
Mhm.
One of us is not gonna walk away from
And
us.
get
then,
this
and
moment.
then probably this guy calling the little kid, killing
Ollie.
Ygritte.
I
Ollie.
actually, as soon as I saw like the shot pan over to that bow and arrow,
yeah.
I didn't say anything. All I could think was,
It's
him.
gonna be-
It's Ollie. It's him. It was.
had to be.
I thought from the very beginning, because the way that Ygritte dies in the book wasn't going to translate well into a TV show. I think.
No,
it was
she
going to
was
be a
kinda
little
like-
confusing.
It's like
So
no one's nearby. She's
Right.
Kind of like found dead.
yeah,
Mhm.
so a little kid just nailing her in the back after she shot, and that
Yeah.
and that horrible. Hey, we're getting potatoes, son. Scene.
Yeah.
Arrow, head, skull
Yeah,
crush.
yeah.
You know, and yeah, I thought that was. It seemed like it was just too obvious.
Yeah,
That's,
it
that's
had
why
to
I called it. I
happen.
was like, that's exactly how it's gonna be.
It was justice
Yeah.
in the Game of Thrones universe,
Right.
which is a rarity.
Very, very rare.
Okay, I've got power rankings. I want to do this.
Ben
now. Okay.
Power
okay, this
Rankings.
is all you, buddy.
I
This
went
is all
back
you.
through and I watched the episode again, and I made power ranks. I thought, okay, this would be fun. So I'm gonna run down the list here. Number 1, Jon Snow.
Obviously.
Makes too much sense.
Killing Stir with
He's
the
pretty
hammer
much-
to the
the skull.
middle of the head.
Also,
Great.
everyone he ran into, he jacked up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's the leader by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
2, Tormund Giantsbane.
Yeah.
Because he
Okay.
literally just trucked through everyone.
He did.
He even got Sir Alistair Thorne. He didn't kill him, but he messed
Yeah,
him up
he
pretty
really-
much.
Tormund's a beast.
He didn't get taken down until
The very end.
until the end. Like he was the last wildling
He's-
standing.
He's the only one that survived that side of the wall, too.
Yeah.
So props to him for not dying.
Yeah.
Props to that guy.
Number 3 is Gren.
For obvious
and his 5
reasons.
other brothers for
Taking on the
slaying the giant.
Yeah.
paying the ultimate price.
Right.
Unfortunately, he had to die in the
when-
show.
When they
May
started
so
the
rest in
chant
peace.
again in the tunnel, a lot of times when they recite that, I think it can come off as a little cheesy.
That
At
was
some points,
perfect.
But I got chills hearing them scream it as
Yeah.
he's charging towards the gate and
I
everything.
got chills several times in this episode.
It was
Yeah.
it was
Several
great.
times. Even when Alistair Thorne was talking, and I hate Alistair.
Everybody
good.
hates Alistair Thorne.
4, Dolores Ed.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, just for his
For-
one line.
Yeah.
But for also being the badass and defending the wall till the end of it, after it was passed from
He was responsible for the
from Alistair
drop of the
Thorne
anchor.
to Janos Slint, quickly to Jon Snow, and then to Dolores Ed. 5 is Ygritte, because even though she died,
she was on fire.
she was Legolasing.
Kissed by fire.
She was Legolasing
in her
up
Legolas.
the whole Castle Black area.
Yeah.
6 is, I forget his name. I know the giant that got in there was the king of the giants. I forget his
Yeah.
name. I can't think of it off the top of my
Is
head.
it- it's not Magnar, is it?
No, that's
No,
the thing.
Thinns. I don't remember.
Either way, the giant, not only for lifting up that, I don't know, what is it, 4-ton
Yeah.
door and scooting through it, but for also firing the bow and spear, which might be the coolest
That was
kill in the
badass.
whole episode.
Very bad.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy flew up.
Through the roof and then all the way down.
I thought that was such an awesome
impaled.
transition from wall back down to the
Yeah.
castle, too.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought that
And
was
it
really
still
cool.
wasn't the coolest
Yeah.
camera shot of the entire
Yeah,
No.
episode.
that's what has to be said.
Well-
Neil Marshall did a great
Well,
job.
well,
We'll
yeah,
get
We'll
to
talk
that.
about that.
Yeah, he should be top of the
Yeah. Neil Marshall.
Neil Marshall is power ranked 0, but that's like God level.
Yes.
I didn't put that
God.
Invincible.
He is God.
It's like like 2 zeros together.
Yes.
Right.
Infinity.
Exactly. Anyways.
Stir of Magnar at number 7. He
Mhm.
was also
Okay.
jacking up people with his axe the whole
Jon
show till
Snow's
Jon
face
Snow.
right into an anvil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else get Oberyn Martell vibes from
Yeah.
that? I
Yeah.
thought, oh no, there goes more teeth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh jeez.
Oh, thank God.
Anyway,
Ugly him up.
8, Alistair Thorne. That dude's stock rose incredibly higher.
Yeah.
I think on
Even if he
everyone
is,
this
is still alive, it's basically just a one night. Okay, he's awesome, and now he sucks.
I
again.
still loved the last line that he said to John before he went down. How he said how you'll go back to hating me and I'll go back to
Right.
wishing that the wildling had finished the job.
Yeah.
I love how that was like a leveling moment between
yeah,
the two. They
and
don't
the-
like each other, but they realize how high a stakes this
Yeah.
battle is right now
Yeah.
for the entire
Yeah.
rest of Westeros. And they're like, you know what? We can set aside our differences
Yes.
for one night.
For this moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, Samwell Tarly at 9
Okay,
for
fair enough. To
killing that one Thin with the crossbow
Mhm.
in the head, that point blank as he's charging. But he also released Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is true.
He
I
also
forgot
he
about
also
that.
unleashed the Ghost.
And he finally kind of got with Gilly.
And he dropped an F-bomb. And
Yes,
on
he
top-
did.
And
Yes.
on top of that, he did the ultimate rarity in Game of Thrones. He promised
said,
somebody
yes.
he wouldn't die.
And he
Team
did.
America style. Team America style.
I
promise
I
will never die.
Yeah.
Normally they're doomed at that point.
Well, last week we saw
Over.
somebody say,
Today is not the day I
Today
die."
is not the day I die.
Wrong.
Immediately dies.
May his soul
So-
rest in peace.
okay,
So
and then
Sam beat the odds.
right, rounding out at number 10 were the Cook brothers. This is. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? There was one cook once the
Yes,
wildlings
beating
got
people with a pan. Yeah, there was the hot
in, with
soup
the
on
hot
him.
soup on him, and then beats him with the pan.
Yeah.
And then there was the other brother. I'm calling him the Cook brothers, who had the like elongated butcher's cleaver, like swung over his shoulder, and then he whips it around and just chops the dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was number
That
10.
was pretty awesome.
And then I've got 2 honorable mentions: Ollie and Ghost. And then
Ghost was only in one scene. I was.
He only ate one dude.
Yeah.
Well, not eat. I mean, I guess he got out. He's like
ripped the throat out of one dude.
He's like,
I'm full.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
my
I'm
brother's
done.
got to eat. I've been stuck in this thing for like weeks, man. I got to eat.
Yes.
And then I have an unworthy list as well.
Oh yeah.
Jano Slint.
Obviously,
that guy was a little bit.
That guy
Jason
deserves
Powell.
his own unworthy list.
Let's
for
just
that
call
list.
this
let's
under
call
the
this
unworthy.
the
Jano Slint list.
Yeah,
because he
in
is
honor-
so
yes,
unworthy.
in honor
This
of
is the
Jano
Jano
Slint.
Slint list.
Jano Slint first on the Jano Slint
Thank you.
you.
Gilly. I don't know about you yet. She's not supposed to fight
She's
or whatever.
anno-
I found her a little annoying this episode though.
Gilly's just in general been annoying.
She's not. Yeah, she's
Ever
just kind of
since
a
she
little.
You're like a wizard.
Since yeah.
She just. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways,
It's not that I don't like the actress portraying her. I
Yeah.
just feel like
It's just
every-
not
everything-
an
Not much of a
engaging
yeah,
character.
everything
Not a
that she's
good
had to do
character.
this season is just kind. It's like she's.
complain.
It's
I'm
like
whining here.
it's
I'm
like-
whining there. I'm whining.
It's
over
like
here now.
Resident Evil 4, like the annoying or Resident Evil 5, the annoying character that you have to have dragged along with you as co-op. That you're
Right.
just like, would you just leave me the hell alone? I don't need your help.
Possibly any video game
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
like
true.
that too. Okay, and then Pip, rest in peace. I liked Pip.
He killed one guy.
He's nice.
Mhm.
He killed one guy, but then
and
he
then
got his
an
neck
arrow
jacked
to
up.
The more I think about it too, like before we started recording, I was arguing that Pip should be on the power rankings, and now that I'm thinking about it, like
He was
like,
shaking. He was like, Sam, I'm
he was
so
nervous.
scared.
He was nervous, and on top of that, like Sam had to whip him into shape multiple times.
Sam.
Multiple times,
Sam.
not just once.
Sam
And then Sam had to
Of all
comfort him and
people.
tell him, "Oh, don't worry, Master Aemon will heal your punctured neck."
Yes. Well, to be
I mean,
fair,
to be fair, anyone would be freaking out, but it
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh, I have to caretake you."
If
one
I
more
had been
time.
shot in the neck, I'd hope that somebody would comfort me with even something like that.
Yeah.
Also, so
Okay.
And
I'm
then
not
the-
going to hold that one against
The
him.
last unworthy and the last of this list,
The last Jano
Word.
Slint.
Jano's Slint list, were
Janos
the
for
barrel
second
men.
time.
The barrel men who got the one barrel stuck in the
Yeah.
launcher and blew themselves
Fail.
up.
And the other one who let it go early.
That was
At the
grand.
beginning.
That was grand.
That was
Oh,
grand.
Oh, I guess that was grand.
That doesn't
yeah.
count.
He made up for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
grand more than made up for
Grand, you redeemed yourself.
That's why he's not.
That's
higher
like
on the
going
power
over 5 in the
rankings.
first quarter, but then come back around and you hit like 15
Yeah.
straight shots.
Yeah.
So that
I think-
that rounds
I
up
think
the
my
list.
only argument with that list, and I don't know how I'd reorder it. I'd have to completely think of it on my own. I'd put Sam higher because Sam was kind of an MVP in this episode for me.
MVP.
he was
was-
moving around
He
a
was
lot.
everywhere. He was
Wall,
more
cellar,
to me. He was
castle.
more present than Jon Snow was. Jon Snow was just more
Mhm.
important, but Sam was everywhere.
That's true.
And so that's why I would put
Dodging
him.
flaming arrows.
Yes, that's the only reason. Why you had him at what 9?
Yeah, 9.
Yeah, I'd put him top 5. Quite
Top
frankly.
5?
Yeah, but I just don't. The problem then becomes I don't know who I put out.
See,
of
I
the-
was going
of the
sort of by
list.
stats too. Like for Tormund, Ygritte, Dolores, Stir of Magna, those people got higher because they had
Yeah.
a high kill count.
I'd say whoever released the giant chain that just killed
Well,
everyone
Dolores.
on the wall.
That was
Dolores
Ed.
said that's
Dolores,
also
I guess you could
the
count that as
seed.
it.
Or the
See,
side,
he
or
ordered
whatever.
it.
See,
Yeah,
for
the
that
side.
reason, he's in my top 5 also.
Yeah.
He was 4
Like,
on mine. He
and
deserves
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, I know.
Love
Very
you,
deserved.
Dolores.
I agree with that for the reason of the hidden anchor,
Right.
because that was perfect.
That was awesome.
that was
great.
that was actually, other than the bow and spear, that was my
Bow and
favorite big fight moment of the entire episode. Was that thing just coming down and just
Swinging. Cue
turning him
Miley
into
Cyrus's
paste, just
wrecking ball.
Swoosh!
Yeah.
Leaving one hanging arm.
Yep.
Everything else was just ice.
And that, I think it was
mist.
right after that, everyone started backing off. They're like, oh.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
oh, okay, they got
we can't
this.
get through the door.
and
we
they're
can't
hoisting it up
climb.
again, so they
Yeah.
can just drop it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Great.
That was fun.
But
So-
anyway, I think we really need to get to Neil Marshall.
He's
His
2 for
job.
2.
A god
Wow.
director! A
Wow.
god!
He's
He
2 for
had
2.
some incredible shots. I mean, not only like the 3-minute going from the top of the wall all the way.
That was their True Detective episode 4 moment.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, even
One
some of the other
shot.
shots, like the bow and spear
I mean,
shot, taking him all the way down, and that I think there was another one that went like the wildlings charging from
They
the
started
southern
showing-
side,
and then
it
they
goes
went over
all
the
the way
wall.
up to the top
Yeah.
of the wall.
That
I mean, just incredible.
For me, just that one shot, I mean, that gave you the perspective of literally every character other than Gilly. Like, I guess every character
Yeah.
that was important to that battle.
At
You
that point.
saw them
Yeah.
all in one shot. And am I remembering it correctly that to solidify his place on that, wasn't Sam in the very first part of the shot?
Yeah.
And he was the very last person you
Yeah.
see in that shot?
He was
like, in a
behind
different
John
spot?
once they came off the elevator.
And then at the very
swung
end,
all around. There he is trotting towards
Yeah.
the door to get.
Yes.
To get
So
Ghost, I think.
it's bookended by Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. But I
I
need to rewatch that scene specifically just because it was so well done.
Yeah.
so
it
long.
was
I think the
very well
coolest
done.
part for me about that scene was to see just how big the set was too.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was enormous.
I mean, giant. All
Yeah.
there was no CGI.
Yeah.
I
I feel like the only CGI other than Ghost was just like
Giants.
was
mammoth.
yeah,
Giants were
the-
actually
yeah, I guess the
manipulated. Giants. I read an article today. Marshall said the Giants were real people,
Were they really?
and they just sized
enhanced.
them up.
Yeah.
The only thing that was
sense.
CGI in that shot was
The
the
mammoth.
mammoth.
the mammoth.
And then like from the widescape camera, just like all the wildlings down.
Yeah.
Right,
But,
yeah.
like,
I mean, there
the
was other
obvious ones.
CGI
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
definitely added in to enhance scale or number of
Mhm.
people and stuff.
Which is stark contrast to
Stark.
Blackwater, where you have so much CGI in one shot
Yeah.
with the
The
wildfire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, so I
That was.
I assume that we have to get into this. Yeah, we have to remember that we're like 3 minutes off from our video.
Yeah, it took a while.
So let's get into this a little bit here. Blackwater versus the Battle of the Wall. Which
Watchers on the Wall.
or what? Yeah,
That's the actual name. of the
Watchers.
episode.
Yeah,
on the
Watchers
Wall.
on
I'm
the
just
Wall,
gonna
yeah.
call it Castle Black.
Yeah,
honestly.
Castle. Yeah,
Castle Black or
Battle
Blackwater?
of
Battle of
Blackwater,
Blackwater,
Castle Black.
Battle of Castle Black. Which was the for TV? Which was
For
the
TV.
yes? Yeah, we'll go with first. We'll go with which one you like more,
Mhm.
and then we'll go with which one was done better on TV, or like for TV.
Yeah.
Like
I will.
when you consider budget and all that good stuff.
I will say, for me personally, I think there were more times that I went, "Oh, like holy crap!" in Watchers on the or in Castle Black.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, the biggest holy shit moment is the wildfire explosion in Black.
And it might always be. in
And it
terms of
might always
battle,
be.
That
Yeah.
still might be the best.
I think-
moment.
I think personally, I think I'd have to watch it again to be sure, but I think I liked Castle Black better because it is literally just 30 straight minutes of action.
nonstop.
With Blackwater, you have going back to Circe and Sansa, kind of inside with that type
You
of
cut
scenes.
back in a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of cutting in.
Mm-hmm.
And Blackwater, there's not any like specific one-on-one battles or any really.
Face-offs.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
saying face-offs.
yeah, like the Hound or anything. Stannis kills a few guys and slices half a guy's head off, but
Yeah,
like-
it's a cool kill.
like
Tyrion chops off a guy's
Tyrion
leg.
chops off a guy's leg, and
It was more shuffled.
yeah, and I mean you got just in this one alone, you got Grennan the Giant. We didn't actually see it, but we can assume you had.
Which is unfortunate, because
Yeah.
that would have been awesome.
I'm
But
glad.
then
I like how
it
they
ex-
left it on
Then it
suspense.
explains
though.
it explains the whole manipulation of it too, because if
He couldn't have. It'd been hard
Yeah.
for that to interact with
Yeah.
the actual actors.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean you have Jon Snow versus Stur.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Snow, Egret,
Jon
face
Snow,
to face
Egret.
meeting.
Alistair Thorne. You get to
Against
see
Tormund.
Tormund just going ape shit on everyone.
Yeah.
And I also really like, and we haven't even talked about this yet. I didn't even really think about it till the end. They didn't get as far as I thought they would in the episode,
I
Yeah.
thought it was proceeding,
and they
further
kind of
too.
ended it on a
Yeah.
cliffhanger. Whereas Blackwater, it ends. Tywin walks
Tywin
in. The
to the
battle is
rescue.
over. We've won,
and that's it.
And that
is it.
could
We have a cliffhanger on this particular battle. Like it's not over yet,
no, it's not.
which is incredible. So
And that
I
was just-
think I'd
that
have to go with Castle
makes
Black.
me wonder then, and this is, I'm not going to say the spoiler, but it's something we talked about last week after we went off about Jon Snow's storyline, how you guys thought differently than what I did about where it would end in season 5. Because of how this ended, do you still believe that?
Is that spoiling things? Just saying he has a storyline?
I think I'm gonna stand with my personal opinion on what I thought about that.
Okay.
Honestly, just because of the way they're doing it,
The other thing about it that makes me wonder with next season is because of so many characters being shuffled around and like with Arya and the Hound's story and Tyrion's story leading to where
it's going to go.
And
ending,
with
ending.
Yeah, going to go. Bran's story next week looks like it's going to be where it is in the books.
It's
in
Dance
with Dragons, the 5th book.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a lot of room next season for a lot of Jon Snow.
There is.
Which is fine because I think more than any other season before, we talked about how in his season 3 he was kind of off on his own, finding himself or whatever.
Yeah.
He you can tell he grew up this season too.
Yeah.
Just by the way he challenged Janos Slynt and Alistair Thorne throughout the season. Wanted to go to Craster's Keep and volunteered to get people to go.
Yeah.
And by the way, he handled commanding the wall in this
Pretty
last
well.
episode.
Yeah.
Like you can really tell Kit Harington's come into his own, and he's
he's
been an amazing actor.
And I think that's what needed to happen because I think the character of Jon Snow has really suffered the most from the splitting the Storm of Swords up in 2 seasons. Because it's really thinned out his story.
Yeah.
Especially last season. This season we've had some more.
He went to
especially with the addition of Craster's Keep.
Yeah.
But you
was a
can't,
very nice addition.
because you couldn't, like, with the amount that they needed to get in for him last year and then for this year, like, you couldn't split that up differently.
No,
like,
you couldn't. No, you
couldn't have him still be with the Wildlings at the beginning of this season.
Absolutely.
Because that's exactly where he was at the end of the season before.
You had to have them separated, which means that the story is going to be kind of
discombobulated.
Yeah.
And they really drew out the Battle of the Wall to
was nice.
episode 9, which is good. Which allowed for us to have that Craster's Keep and everything. Whereas
that's something
in the book, it would have happened like around episode 4 or 5 probably.
I saw one of my friends last night, and this is I'm kind of interested or intrigued by this. One of my friends last night tweeted after the end of the episode. She said that it was a solid 7.5 on the boring scale. And it made me want. Here's the reason. This is what made me start thinking about it.
Yep.
Is it because of the lack of Jon Snow this season to suddenly have so much? It's like we're not as engaged in that story as much, and we're so concerned with the King's Landing story.
That might be it.
And the Daenerys story. Like those two are like so much bigger right now because we've seen so little of Jon Snow this season. To suddenly get all the Jon Snow that we could handle, it makes me wonder if casual show watchers were just like
not engaged.
All right, this is nice. Where's everything else?
Yeah, and to go back to that too, I think once again, like I said, kind of with last episode, the build up, like the episode before, they had one scene really, and you didn't really get that. They are marching on the wall.
There's no truly great anticipation for this like there was for Blackwater.
I think a lot of show watchers just aren't interested in anyone at the wall at all.
Yeah,
not just Jon Snow, but I don't know if people are really engaged and interested in
Sam.
Egret or Sam
I
or
think
Tormund or Mance. I don't think a lot of people are very interested.
I think the real problem here is really you could argue the real point of Jon Snow's story is at the wall because the White Walkers. And we really don't get that much about the White Walkers.
It's still a forthcoming thing, even in the books.
Yeah,
it's still forthcoming.
We've had a grand total of 4 scenes in 4 seasons that really are about the White Walkers, and that's it.
And I like how you mentioned in there, like the characters that people don't care about. You said Mance, and all I could think is, That dude's been in 3 episodes. 3 episodes.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
He's had 3 scenes.
Yeah.
1 scene in each episode.
One
We
scene.
we
Yeah.
finally get to see him again this season.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Yeah.
Just so we could tell by the preview.
But
It's very similar to even though this isn't her name, Yara in the
Yara,
show.
yeah.
But like how she
They were
she
only,
was
she
in
was
like,
only in episode 10 last
how she
season.
was
been
in like
in 1 this
she was in
year.
like 3 episodes in season 2 and then
3 or 4,
disappeared completely until episode 10 of season 3
yeah.
and then she was only in 1 episode this season. But fear not, show watchers, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil
Yeah.
this one for you. You're probably gonna see more of her next season. Just
yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So get used to
Yeah.
seeing Yara.
I
because
wonder if
she's gonna
that's
be
how-
back,
I-
and
I
she's
think-
if they go with that story like as intensely as it is.
Oh, they
in
have to.
Beast, yeah, because they need content.
Yeah.
She's gonna be in like
She's
every
gonna be
episode.
really important.
Yeah.
You think they're doing that with Rickon too? We haven't heard from Rickon.
You know, I was
episode 9. There were people talking that the girl who plays Asha, the actress, supposedly has credits in this next.
Yes,
episode.
I was gonna just bring that up. I was looking on Wikipedia the other day, and Rickon and Osha both have credits as supporting cast on Wikipedia, but they haven't showed up yet.
Interesting.
And we don't have anything on them from after Clash of Kings. So
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, there's
Maybe
endless possibilities.
Maybe
there.
they'll show up. That's a spoiler.
Well,
I'll tell
we'll
you
just
that.
leave that here.
Yeah.
But
Were we still comparing Castle Black to Black?
Yes,
Water?
that's
Yes.
kind of where we were. We
Okay,
really
we
got
really
off
went
that.
off.
we really,
Um,
yeah.
But
But it was good. It was good.
Yeah, but
So
you,
I have Castle Black.
that's
Better for television. I mean, probably Blackwater just because its timing was probably better than Castle Black.
Yeah,
And like you said, a lot of show watchers probably by now
that
aren't
was-
engaged in
that was. I was just gonna say
storyline.
that's the key word. Blackwater was way more engaging
Yeah.
to the casual
And you
show
know,
watcher.
season 2 was
Because-
building up so much to Blackwater, whereas this season not really as much.
Yep,
Well,
I would agree.
you
with
could argue that this battle was forthcoming for 2 seasons, though.
It was, but
It still wasn't.
the build up.
It
It
was
didn't feel like
the
It
Is that
didn't
what
feel
you're
like
saying?
the build up. Yeah, it really didn't feel like it.
It's
Like
probably too.
the
the
one
build-up
scene
was
they had
definitely
in episode 8, it was just kind of them standing around and talking. It's not like, oh, they're marching on the wall imminently.
Yeah.
We need to do something about this.
Mm.
That would be my argument. Whereas, you know, from episode 4 in season 2, Blackwater is happening.
Yeah,
You know, and you know it's happening.
and
You know-
then the
you
whole,
know Stannis is
and then
coming.
the death of Renly, which like makes it even more
Yeah,
interesting. Like,
which makes
whoa,
it-
now
yeah.
this like
now
the stakes are
they've
even
teamed
higher.
up. Yeah.
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 I think I'm comparing this 2 different ways because if you look at the characters in those episodes, like Castle Black, I like all the characters, but overall I was more interested in the characters that were involved in Blackwater because there's Cersei, there's Tyrion, there's
Mainly
Davos,
Stannis,
Stannis. There's a
Bronn,
chance Joffrey could die, Bronn,
the Hound,
Sansa.
Sansa, yeah.
There
And
were
then
a lot
Tywin.
more, and that's kind of how it's always been. Is King's Landing seems to always be the most interesting
because it's got the most characters.
Yeah.
storyline. So I think in the character department, Blackwater was better
Mhm.
because it had more storylines you were tied and interested in. Whereas, I mean, I like the characters at the Wall and the Wildlings and everything, but they were awesome. You can throw any characters into the Castle Black episode though,
Mhm.
and they do the things that those characters did, and they'd be awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of action though, Blackwater did have the biggest holy crap moment with
Definitely.
the wildfire and everything.
Without a doubt.
It blew me away. I'll
Oh,
never
yeah.
forget the
Yeah.
first time I watched it.
I
It blew
mean,
me
I'll
away.
say with,
And-
with that
and
wildfire explosion, like, it was such a shock and a holy shit moment. I didn't even say anything. I was just like,
Yeah.
This is happening.
like, wow. Like,
But
that's
I
how
remember,
big of a moment
I remember
it was.
watching that with. That was the biggest group up to that point. That was the biggest group of people that I'd watched any episode with was Blackwater, and none of us were book readers
No
at
one-
that point.
no one knew
was
it was
watching, or no one was reading the books, and we were all just like, "Whoa!" Just like completely
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
just thrown back at like how
Massive,
yeah,
and
just
destructive.
the
wildfire
scale of
was.
that just was unbelievable.
Mhm.
Mhm. Anyway,
Overall,
I'm sorry.
the- no,
Go ahead.
Action wise, though, I think the Castle Black episode overall was better, just because, like you were saying, 30 minutes straight there's action, and there's not just like so action or whatever. This was like post Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings battles. This was, I think, one of the coolest battles I think I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Because there was so much going on. There were so many cool kills.
Yeah,
Which
no
it's
kidding.
Game of Thrones. You got to expect that. But there were characters you were consistently watching too, and I mean, okay, as book readers we didn't think so, but for show watchers, I'm like, they've got to be concerned about these people right now.
Yeah.
They're running down in this, little pit area across the chasm, and oh, there goes a flaming arrow over Sam's head.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes Stir almost slamming Jon Snow into the fire and stuff.
One of my favorite little moments from that, speaking of the flaming arrows, was when the wildlings on like the
North,
well, it was on the south
South.
side of the wall, like
Second
with
guess.
Ygritte and everything. Yeah, there's only
Yeah,
two.
there's only one.
Ygritte was like firing arrows like rapid fire at the wall.
Like,
Like
first
picking
person,
them-
like
picking
first
them off the
person
ground.
shooter,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
viewpoint.
And you get from the front, and you see that flaming arrow come at her,
And
she
whiz, and
just
she ducks.
she
Yep.
just does that quick little.
And
just-
She
and
like
it
picks
keeps-
up flaming
keeps
arrows off the ground.
Yeah,
and
it
just-
keeps firing. Like
Yeah.
in one, I was like, that was such a cool sequence.
She
It
was on her
it was
leg,
very
like-
short.
She was
but
on her Legolas game there.
Oh, yeah.
she was definitely.
That was definitely one of my favorite Rose Leslie performances.
Yeah.
She was
of the series.
She's always been one of the best actresses.
Yeah,
Mhm.
honestly, it's gonna suck not having her around.
yeah.
Yeah, as we
Does
say
suck.
with every fallen,
Not everyone.
most of them. Even Jack Gleason, like he was so.
I
good
still
as
miss
Joffrey.
him.
Jack
yeah.
Gleason's different though. That's because he was.
I
an
miss his
awesome
good
actor.
acting. I don't
Yes.
miss his character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come back as a reanimated corpse or something. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll kill. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure
as,
he'll
as
kill it.
White Walker Joffrey.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So,
Yeah.
do we have anything else we want to talk about from the wall?
I think that
Pretty much
wraps it up.
awesome episode. Neil Marshall again is amazing.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I like about it, about Castle Blackmore is as good as Blackwater was, and for me, I still like it more. But it felt like Neil Marshall was even more comfortable,
Oh yeah.
like behind the
yeah.
camera in the second.
we had
one.
no
Well,
shots.
he was
like, in
he was a
Blackwater
last
like we
second
did in-
shoe.
No.
He was a last second shoe in for Blackwater.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
like, yeah.
Yeah,
he
The,
was-
the other
there
director
was-
dropped out,
Yeah.
and they brought him in like a day's notice or something.
Yeah,
right?
so like he did that with little time to prepare, but this was like, wasn't he like the first one announced for any of the episodes? for
Yeah,
this
yeah, it
season?
was confirmed.
Yeah.
It was-
And then we all
actually-
knew, yep, that's the battle for
Yeah.
Castle Black.
Yeah.
Well, and originally it said he was doing episode 10, which
Yeah.
it later switched to episode 9.
Yeah.
But that was the first big one. Like Neil Marshall is
Wh-
back.
Yeah, I remember you texting me that, I think it was our group text actually,
Yeah.
and when you said that, we all immediately knew, like,
We're like,
Yeah,
it was
that's
going-
why I know Castle Black.
and when it was episode 10 at first, I think we were like, wait, why wouldn't it be episode 9? Because
Yeah.
we were trying to figure out stuff.
Yeah,
on
we're
the
trying to figure out
storyline,
storyline that has to happen.
Where
yeah.
things
Yeah.
they'd have to move
and
that
some things that
forward.
have happened, but we were confused as to why he would be doing the 10th episode if that's going to be the Battle of Castle Black.
Right.
Why they'd have that as the season finale, but obviously it wasn't. And yeah, he did an amazing job
Yeah.
with it. And there's a lot to look forward to, especially with Winds of Winter having potentially
Coming up.
two huge, well, not potentially, but having
Having.
two huge battles in it. Is
That will
one-
probably be set up next season. At
and
least
can you imagine
set
that?
up.
Potentially two Neil Marshall directed battle scenes in
Can you
the
think-
same season.
Do you think they'd
Could
maybe
that-
make one next season and then another one the next season after that?
I
Just for
feel-
budget's sake?
I
Maybe.
would guess if they do that, they'd put like one of them, like maybe episode 9 next season,
And then episode
and
2
then
or 3 of this-
episode 2 or 3 is
Yeah.
the other one.
That would
Yeah.
That would be my
crazy.
best
But which-
guess. I don't think they'd do 2 in the same
No.
season because
As-
that take up
that's a
so
lot.
much.
That would be a lot of their budget and
Also,
and
a lot
you've-
of their story.
And you've got the worry of people potentially being burnt out.
Yeah, like,
Right.
Also,
And plus,
enough
taking
battles.
2 episodes just to focus on one storyline in this kind of TV show would just it's
Yeah.
too much time.
Yeah.
One a season they can afford, but beyond that, you're really losing probably quality.
I'm sure D.B. Wise and David Benioff will figure
They
it
got
out.
it.
They've been golden so far.
I'm sure they figured it out already.
Yeah.
They already know.
They know
they're
how it
already
ends.
into it.
They know how it ends.
Yeah, they do.
Bastards.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think that concludes our Castle Black talk. I believe we're moving on to the Lista now. This is one we didn't get to last week, but we were very excited to do
because we went an hour last week, which we did not anticipate, and it happened anyways
because of Tyler's rant.
Okay,
anyway,
that was like 30 seconds. Okay,
I'm just kidding.
Don't make me.
Anyways, our Lista tonight is a very special one.
Yeah, we came up with it last week. I actually had been talking to some of my coworkers about it, and movies are something that we all enjoy.
Love them.
Everyone loves.
Who doesn't love movies?
And more so than that, I feel like people seem to forget, and I even more now. I turned 27 this week, and it's amazing to me how many of these movies. It's like, holy crap, they're that old.
I know.
When you see things like Toy Story came out in 1995, and I was like, I saw that in theaters when it was first released in theaters. It's like, oh my goodness, and it's even worse for people who saw the first Star Wars in theaters when it was first released.
To be fair, I wish I was those people.
Yes, but even still, it's like those are I remember seeing that when I was a kid. So the least of this week is top 5 movies that were released the year that we were born. And the reason that I came up with it last week is I was wearing a RoboCop shirt, and because it was like RoboCop Day in Detroit last Tuesday when we recorded this, and
we watched the Bad Boys documentary after that.
We did, which is funny because
so perfect.
Detroit connectivity.
Anyways,
but RoboCop was released in 1987, the year that I was born. So, hence the list of top 5 movies, and not even necessarily in order, just 5 favorite movies from the year, or 5 best movies, whatever, because Chase has one on there that we told him he has to put on there.
We'll kick it off with that one.
So it's
top, probably the best one.
5 best movies that were released, 5 best/favorite movies that were released the year you were born.
Make the year, name the year you were born. Too.
Yeah, I was born 1994. Also, the year Jacobs Field was first in play for the Indians.
That's not a movie.
Anyways.
But it's still an important fact.
That's an important fact, and it should still be Jacobs Field, not frickin' Progressive Field. Anyways, number 5, I haven't seen it, or else I'm sure it would be top 2.
We made him put this on the list because
top
it has
1.
to at least be.
Pulp Fiction, I haven't watched it. I damn well need to.
I hadn't seen the first Godfather till 2 years ago. So.
Dude, I still have to watch Godfather also.
No.
You boys are sitting down with me.
Sometimes.
We're
sitting.
Did you just Chris Hansen us?
Yes, I did.
Anyways, Pulp Fiction, I'd go on more about it, but I can't, so...
Believe us when we say it's worth it.
It's definitely
should I just continue
my list off all 5
number 4, Forrest Gump.
Good movie.
Good movie. Tom Hanks, I love you, Jenny.
Still should not have beat Pulp Fiction for the Oscar.
No,
but
absolutely
a very good movie.
not. Actually, Bill Simmons talks about that in the book of basketball. Anyways,
he's not wrong.
Forrest Gump, I think that one speaks for itself. Number 3, Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. This could easily be number 1 on any list
of
top 5
that
movies.
That was a heck of an Oscar year.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and Forrest Gump won out of those 3.
Yeah.
And it's fun, of those 3 also, it had the least one. Well, it gets a lot of TV replay, but it's definitely the weakest movie of those 3.
Yeah.
Okay, now the top 2, the ones I really care about and may go into. Number 2, Dumb and Dumber. One of my favorite comedies of all time.
Oh, yes.
It's such a classic. I mean...
Dumb and Dumber is just one of those all-time hilarious quotable comedies.
Oh, I know.
That you will, if you see it on TV, you'll watch it.
And there's so many things to quote from it,
it's everything.
For me, it's Dumb and Dumber, Anchorman, and The Hangover are the 3 that I quote the most. Because there's so many quotes from him. And Dumb and Dumber number 2. And number 1, this will probably be number 1 even after I watch Pulp Fiction, The Lion King.
It's okay.
My
Duh.
favorite
That's a
Disney
given.
movie of all time.
Favorite animated movie.
Favorite
maybe.
animated
maybe
movie.
Toy Story's
If
there,
we're
too.
talking Pixar, it'd be one of the Toy Stories. But if we're just Disney, it's Lion King for me all the way.
Yeah.
I grew up
Completely
on it.
Watching it as a
understandable.
child, seeing it on Broadway, just
The Lion
Love
King's
it.
great.
Lion King all the way. So that's my lista.
All right.
You want me to go?
ahead.
Okay.
We'll go in the opposite order.
And
Gotcha.
we'll go youngest to oldest.
All right. First on my list is Goodfellas.
Number
Yes.
one.
That's
Obviously.
one of my favorite
top 5
mobster
favorite film
movies
of all time.
ever.
I would give up at least 2 of the ones on my list to have
For
Goodfellas.
that one?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a trade.
Great movie.
Goodfellas is amazing. Second would be The Godfather Part 3. The weakest of all 3 Godfather movies.
But still, The Godfather.
It's still a Godfather. It's still also, I think, in my opinion, a good movie. It still got Oscar nominated like crazy, even though people claim it was, of the 3, it's horrible now looking back.
I haven't seen it. I think everything that I've read about it just leads me to believe that like the reason that people don't like it is because the first 2 were like literally the perfect movies.
Yeah.
And
I get in arguments in my up here with
Yeah.
myself over which one's better.
yeah.
And I have to like walk around. I can't stand
Well,
it.
you
If I
did
think
this,
about
like,
it too long,
3
I'll
weeks
get
ago
so mad.
with one of our listas. What was that? With
Star Wars.
Yeah, with Star
Yeah.
Wars. Like
I have this
any,
a lot.
Any given day, like
could
this might
change.
be higher than this.
Yeah, it's I have those debates a lot in my head.
Well,
I have a
at least
council.
at least that's like a healthy.
It's
type of-
about good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about
It's
reasonably
not like,
good.
do I kill
things.
myself with a shot to the heart,
No.
and you're to blame?
That's an easy decision every day.
Anyways,
And then next is another Joe Pesci movie, Home Alone. very
Ah.
the
first
2
Home
are
Alone.
connected somehow.
Yeah.
I swear.
that
They are connected.
That
They are
and-
the same universe.
and Sopranos.
All 3 of those are connected.
After that would be The Hunt for Red October,
Have not seen.
starring
Have not seen
Sean
it.
Connery.
I haven't seen it. It's too bad.
Very good movie about a submarine.
I did know what. I know what it's about. I just have not watched it.
And then after that,
It got kind of.
it got.
It's a strong top 4, and then everything else is just kind of.
After that, there's Back to the Future 3 that came out.
Yeah.
definitely. That's
Pretty
the-
Woman.
If you're into
Edward
that sort of thing.
Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. I'll
Dances with Wolves.
We'll do the Pulp Fiction thing here. I'll vouch for Edward Scissorhands being your number 5.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
Okay, I'll allow.
And
I'll allow it.
if we had a girl here, I'm sure Pretty Woman
would
could be
get it,
placed
yeah.
there pretty easily
Yeah.
too. And I mean, I've
Okay.
heard some guys say that that's a really enjoyable movie.
I know the
too, so-
premise. I'd kind of like to watch it maybe one
Yeah,
time,
just
just to
to-
say I've watched it.
Exactly. Okay,
Anyways,
so I was
Tyler.
born in 1987, and my top,
Oh, I was 1990. I don't think I said that.
you didn't say that.
1990.
Yes.
Great
87.
year for
Um,
movies.
87. 87 was home to 2 of the greatest action movies that we've ever seen. But I'm gonna go the other way. First of all, number 5, because you need a comedy on there, and I've got 2 comedies on here.
I know what it is.
The first one, number 5, is Spaceballs.
Space.
Absolutely.
Love it.
For me, it's like the most underrated Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Of his big ones, like Blazing
Blazing
Saddles,
Saddles.
Young Frankenstein, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and Spaceballs. I feel like Spaceballs is the most underappreciated one.
Mhm.
And that movie,
Because it's just like, oh,
And
it's
it's such
a
an
Star
underrated
Wars
spoof movie.
yeah,
It's
that
hilarious.
movie absolutely kills me.
Yes,
it's so
absolutely.
funny, and it's one of my favorite performances from John Candy, who also, and I know at least one guy who, if he's watching this, would hate me for saying this and not putting this on my list.
Uncle Buck.
But no, 1987 also had another great John Candy performance, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh,
which
I've never
is-
heard of that.
Oh
Never
my
heard
God,
of
it's John Candy and Steve Martin, and it's
okay.
Enough said.
absolutely hysterical. But that does not make my top 5 because it's just not as good as these other 5 movies for me. So that's number 5. Number 4 is Full Metal Jacket, and Full Metal Jacket would be number 1 with a bullet if the second half of the movie didn't suck. But the first half, where it's boot camp, is as good as war movies get.
Mm-hmm.
But I just once
That's
actually,
another one I've never watched.
oh, the boot camp sequence is like it's lightning in a bottle. It is just absolutely incredible. and the second half of the movie
just doesn't
saps the lot. No, it's just it can't live up to it because it's literally like the tale of two movies basically. Like it's boot camp and then once they're over in Vietnam, and it's just not nearly as engaging as the boot camp stuff.
Well, it's like entirely different scenery and location.
Yeah, well,
is that what makes it suffer? It just is not that.
It's
good.
hard to explain because I think it's just because everything in the boot camp stuff is so powerful. But anyways, this is tough for me because I really don't know how to put these next three in order. So I'm gonna make it a
just name them.
I'm gonna do a cop out and I'm gonna three-way tie it. The number one answer or number one top of my list is a three-way tie between Predator, my favorite man movie ever.
The man movie.
That is a man. I mean, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and essentially like six of his buff dude friends going out and hunting and like having an excuse to walk around with no shirts on and war paint on, and then they get hunted down by this crazy alien thing. Such a fun freaking movie to watch. Next up is one of probably my favorite action movie not named Die Hard, and that would be RoboCop, hence the reason for it. And I think actually this one has to be number one overall, The Princess Bride.
Yep, I knew it. I knew it.
Princess Bride was one of the first movies that I ever watched. It was one of my dad's favorite movies, and he watched the VHS of that thing constantly, and I never got sick of it.
Like you just running around the house, and it was always on the TV. It seemed one of those things.
It seemed like it was one of those things where like now, I don't know if you do this, but I feel like I watch Aliens at least once every 3 months.
It's constantly on my Blu-ray player.
Yeah,
I have to. It is so awesome.
I watch it at least once every 3 months. Sometimes it's more than that. But that's how I feel like it was for my dad with The Princess Bride. Like he watched that all the time, and I never got sick of it. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I grew more in love with it because it's so charming. It's so
it's
funny,
an instant classic.
And it's so different.
Yeah.
Like it's just very unique, and that's why that's my number one.
It's wacky. It's got romance, but the way it's like presented and all tied together is just so unusual at some points. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. But yeah, so that was and I mean in 1987 also like there was Dirty Dancing, The Lost Boys, The Untouchables,
Empire
the first
of the
Lethal
Sun.
Weapon, Wall Street, like 1987.
That was a good
also
year for
a very
movies.
good year for movies.
Yeah.
Some very good movies in 1987. But those are my top 5.
That's it.
So I think that's it for this week's episode.
It's a little shorter than most.
Yeah, it's like 48 minutes or so.
48, yep, right on the dot.
Yeah.
Hey, we kept it under 50. First time ever.
Woo!
Well, we'll keep it
High
even
five
lower.
Yes.
Minus 3
next
minutes.
next week, no promises because we have to discuss 66
everything from
minutes
Game of Thrones.
And there will be glorious things to discuss.
Oh, there will be so much.
So many.
I'm counting on the top of my head, and there are at least 6 or 7. Oh my god, I'm gonna have a heart attack probably moments next time.
Yeah.
There will be a lot.
Yeah,
So we will
there's a
get
lot.
there. So tune in next week. We will be back.
Woo.
We are the Geeks in Suits.
Yeah,
Thank you
Geeks
for
in
joining
Suits.
us.
Alrighty.
We are
Latest on the Menjay.